We are going to be talking about automations and action plans today, and this is a part two. So we're going to cover the basics, and then we're going to go off to the races. We want you guys to come on and tell us about your amazing automations. But first and foremost, welcome. My name is Lee Adkins. I am the head of growth at Amplified Solutions, and I'm joined by Caroline, Jeremy, and Lyndon today. Why don't you guys, Caroline, why don't you go first and give us a quick intro?
Yes, thank you for having me back on office hours. Last time was really fun. There's a lot of questions. We are kind of like sweating towards the end, answering all of them. So that was a good time. But yeah, I'm Caroline. I'm a product manager at Follow Up Boss. I've been here almost 3 years now. I'm from Denver, Colorado. I was not born here, but this is where I am now. And I just love hearing from you guys and what you're doing with automation. So can't wait to talk with you today.
Awesome, Jeremy.
Hey, I'm Jeremy Smith. I'm a success manager at Follow Up Boss. I live in Maine. This is a lovely picture from Acadia National Park behind me. And I've got a house full of children and pets that you might hear some point during this call. So, but it adds to the fun.
Awesome. Lyndon.
Perfect. I'm on Jeremy's team and the customer success team. I live in Bend, Oregon. I know it's a little misleading with the Golden Gate Bridge behind me, but I like to say I put that up when the West Coast this summer had a lot of fires. So I just kind of wanted to represent the West Coast, and I guess it never came down. So if you're ever in the Oregon area, I'd love to meet up for some coffee. So excited to talk about automations with you guys today.
Awesome. Very cool. So we're well represented geographically. I definitely I dig that. Well, I think we're all in actually pretty cool places. A little bias to that, but would love for you guys to drop in the chat where you are joining us from. Let us know what zip you're in or what location you're in. And we're gonna dive right in here. All right, Bay Area. There you go. Hoboken. Love it. Awesome. Guys, keep telling us where you're at. We're gonna dive right in. Jeremy, can you run down for us what the heck is an automation?
Yeah, sure. All right, so automations and Follow Up Boss, and I'm going to make my screen a little bit bigger here. Are
screen bigger too. I kind of wanted to throw out today is we want to hear from you guys. So as Jeremy's going through this, start thinking of your questions. We want to hear about your automations today. What automations are working for you? So we want to kind of everyone to hop in when you can. So think about that as Jeremy goes through this. Sorry to cut you off there, Jeremy.
Hey, no problem. Yeah, totally. We want to hear your cool ideas. So an automation is another way of activating an action plan in Follow Up Boss. The automations have different triggers. So until we released our automations in October of last year, the only way to make an action plan fire automatically in Follow Up Boss was to attach it to a lead source. But once automations came live, look at all the things that you can do and have an action plan fire. You can change a stage or add a tag. You can use a calendar date from a custom field or from a deal close date, or you can fire it off of automatic notifications from other web leads flowing in. These triggers can be really, really powerful. And once you choose a trigger, then you can also assign conditions to the automation so that it only fires in particular circumstances. That can be as simple as that an automation can only apply to a particular agent or to a particular team of agents or people on the team, or it can be more complex. You can include combinations of conditions to make sure that it really, really pinpoints exactly who you want it to pinpoint. And we have conditions that are basically every single filter that we offer on the people tab, including custom fields. And then the action is the action plan that you create to go with the automation. We have a library of automations in Follow Up Boss for you. And these can all be just turned on with a flip of a switch. Once that's green, it's going. And it's going to work on, it's a global setting. So if it's on, the only way to limit it is to use the conditions that I just mentioned. But once it's on, you're set. It's going to do its work. And on this page, you can click into the automations that are here. So something as simple as a happy birthday greeting can be driven off of a calendar date with a condition, an action plan, and even a setting to run more than once. So a person can get a automated email on once a year as opposed to just once. And then also on this page, you can review the action plans that are part of the automations and edit and go to the action plan edit screen as well. The other cool thing on this page is that you get to see how many times they've gone. And if they have run, you can click on the number in this column and actually get a smart list of the people who've had that plan and be able to review more about those folks. So those are the real basics. I got some pretty cool ones pre-built for you, but I know so many of you have so many great ideas and so many great ways that you're using this, and I can't wait to hear those.
Yeah, let's do that. Why don't we do this real quick? Do any of you guys, and I can go first or last, whatever you guys prefer, what are your guys' favorite automations? Because you guys have been using these for a little bit now. And then let's have people come on and tell us theirs.
I would answer that, Lee. And I always have that question, right? When I'm working with teams and we're setting up their account, what are some automations that other teams are doing really, really well? I like to kind of think, just as we're kind of still introducing automations on this office hours in the beginning, is I like to think of these are leads that are already in your account. That's what we're adding automations to. This isn't a brand new lead. This isn't a lead that's just now coming through your lead flow. These are leads that are in your account, and things are happening to your leads every day, right? What are things that are happening to leads that are in your account that you want to basically automate, right? For example, people are having birthdays, right? Let's automate that birthday email to go out. People, stages are changing, right? Leads are going from a hot prospect to a closed transaction. Well, once it goes to close, that stage changes and we fire an automation, right? So as things happen to your leads that are in your account, I think that's the best way to think about how do we set up these automations, and what kind of automations are going to work well for you is what's happening. What do you need to automate? So that's my way to not say what my favorite one is.
I'm going to echo Lyndon. I don't think that there's a particular favorite, but definitely, I mean, I love the simplicity of it. I mean, that's what I really love, is that simply by, indicating someone has, needs to go into a nurture stage, or you can update these to be, whatever stages you use. If you have warm or cold or anything along those lines that you use instead of just nurture, and have something happen automatically so that you don't have to think about performing the second thing or the third thing or the fourth thing. Yeah, it's just the simplicity of it overall. But there are some good ones.
There's one in the Q&A here from Chanel that says, and maybe Jeremy, if you want to show it, I like the new inquiry for an existing lead automation.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites too.
What would that entail?
So this one is built off of a new inquiry coming into Follow-Up Boss, and it has this condition of created more than 3 days ago. So as like Lyndon said, it's not a brand new lead, but it's an existing lead that has inquired about a different property or a new property again. So I like this one because, the lead kind of has that one chance to go through lead flow and start an automated action plan that way. But this gives you like a second shot at automating something based off of an inquiry. So I really like this one. That condition of created more than 3 days ago, make sure like they didn't just like send in 2 inquiries at once, that kind of deal. But yeah, so it's going to like recapture that and send an action plan based off of that, which I think it has like a task to call them and maybe a quick email to follow up.
Yeah, and another good pro tip to that, there is another condition that is favoriting another property. So depending on your website platform, I'm a big fan of that one, although I don't know that I would send out an automated email if they just favorited. But I think that's a good time to potentially reach out and say, hey, but it could create a task to the agent. But yeah, I think that's another great condition. Or you could do both. You can have 2 triggers. Hopefully, while Caroline's on, she can tell me if I'm wrong.
Actually, Jeremy, if you want to go back to the list of automations, there's one that is person has changed behavior and is active again after 14 days. So this is kind of what Lee was talking about. This one is looking for someone who hasn't been active in 14 days. The last communication is, I think, also more than 14 days ago. and we're looking for any new property saves or property views. So that means that they haven't been around in a while, you haven't spoken to them in a while, but they're, suddenly kind of looking back at the website, and we found out that they're looking at something or saving something. And this action plan will task you with a task to give them a call, or at least check in on that behavior that they're doing, and then send your own personal email follow-up. So this is a good example of like looking for two of those triggers at once, which I think is cool.
Yeah, that's such a great example. And one other thing to mention is that you could always put in your action plan, like I know tasks are always kind of a thing for people, like they either have a million tasks and they don't do any of them, or they don't use them. But one other option that you might do is consider adding a tag in that action plan, and then you can have a smart list with that tag. So maybe it's not so much that you're getting hit every time somebody's back on the site, but you could have it add a tag that would pull them into a smart list that says, oh, these people were active on our site. And if you really want to get bonus points, you could remove that tag after you've contacted them. And then if it happens again, they'll come back in that smart list. But don't want to get too crazy. Well, I'll tell you my favorite automation. So I love the stage change, the nurture one, especially, or unresponsive, or whatever stage it is. I'm a huge fan of that, just triggering a plan. Make sure that your agents understand that that's going to happen. Obviously, my other favorite thing about plans that I'm just now really, or the automations that I'm just now kind of really getting into and using, is the condition, saying that, oh, if this person doesn't have a phone number, let's send an action plan that says, hey, what's a good number to reach you on, or something relevant to that. But using these conditions to say, doesn't have mailing address, or doesn't have this, or has a bad phone number, are really, really powerful things. Jeremy, yeah, let's go back and look at that bad number one, because that's a great one. And then we'll get some people to hop on and tell us about theirs.
Yeah, I'd love to hear your ones that are working for you guys.
And you can just raise your hand. Jeremy, if you want to run through this, it's great. If you can press the button at the bottom to raise your hand, we'll bring you on screen, and you don't have to share your screen. Awesome. You can just tell us.
Yeah, so this particular automation is relying on any type. We have a whole variety of tags that you can use to indicate bad number. Some of these through from other sources, like Ylopo has their bad phone number, and I think there's a Zillow bad phone number tag that can pull through. And if the lead comes through with a bad phone number, or you tag it as a bad phone number, if it's tried, or if Follow Plus recognizes it as an invalid phone number, then you can get that action plan going right away. This is a relatively simple action plan. It's just a couple of quick emails for outreach. But as with any action plan, you can add more touches in here, or create a final task to say, number not reached, so forth, or no number not available, and have it move into a pond for outreach in a different way, another way, or anything along those lines. So, but the automation itself can play off of a lot of different variables, and as you saw in the previous one, you can even have multiple triggers target the same action. So, like Lee said, if you wanted to well, the condition could be Lee mentioned the condition that you can choose phone number is empty or is bad, to make sure that that you're targeting, not just the tag itself, but the actual facts in Follow Plus, the actual data.
Yeah, another good one that you could add here too is the email is good. So since that action plan is going to send out like a few emails, you could also say email is good. So that way, at least this is going to people that we know have like a valid email address. So it's not going to bounce, that kind of thing.
Exactly. Very good. Very good. Let's see. If there's some more questions in the chat. And
there are, and Dexter will come on also. So
awesome.
Here we go.
I have a question while we're waiting for someone to come on that we might be able to show someone. Is we have a happy birthday automation. When we added it to a lead name, it sent the email immediately instead of their birthday. What did we do wrong? So I think probably might be best to just show what would be needed on a contact to trigger that automation.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, so the birthday automation relies on a custom field. And the custom field has to be a date type of field. So let me duplicate my screen so I can show two things. All right, so we'll move on to the automation itself. So our happy birthday looks for the calendar date where birthday is today. And that needs to find that date in a custom field. So the custom fields have to be created appropriately, and that's where the data has to be. So if you've got a lead in Follow Up Boss, let's pull somebody up here. So Alley Cat. So the custom fields live down here, and this is the birth date. If the birthday is, if Allie's birthday is tomorrow, the 5th, and you populate that here, then the automation will have data to pull off of. So the automation will read every morning. It'll read the custom field, and it'll look for a date that matches today. And if the date is today and there is an email attached to it, the action plan will start. So
Yeah, if you're an OG Follow Boss user, make sure that your custom field for birthday is set to date. There's some people that don't have the right. It used to be a text field. So make sure that and if you have existing data in there, then you just have to get fancy. We'll leave it at that. We'll leave it at that for this purposes. But
exactly. The custom
hit up support. They love it.
Type. Yeah, exactly. Email support to help you tweak your custom fields.
Cool. And Dexter's on. Tell us about your your automation story.
No, it's not a story. I was writing the question, but I guess I raised my hand, so you guys put me on. But I was actually looking at, and I'm not sure this was a new one because I haven't seen this one, the change behavior by viewing or saving properties. And I love that one because we all know that people view and save properties and we're always late to the game, or we're not on top of that, and that's a big behavior. My question to you guys, I wanted to see your success rate on that. Because I feel like maybe I was looking at the immediate email. It says, I saw you viewed a few listings today. Do you feel like maybe it's kind of showing them that you're kind of seeing exactly what they're doing and on their website? And I mean, I'm factored in with Wailopo, so pretty much they're like active on my website. So I always refrain from like, I saw that you favorited, I saw that you listed, but I wanted to see kind of their success rate on that. And then on the merge fields, the last 5 preview, what is that?
Oh yeah, that's cool. Caroline, you want to tackle that? The preview, and I'll tackle the verbiage question.
Sure, yeah. So the preview piece, so that merge field is going to fill out the address, and if there is like a preview of the property, if they have an image, it'll auto fill in that preview or that image into the email too. So if they're, it'll pick up to the last 5 that were viewed. If there was only, 2, it would just show 2, but it will give you that address and then a link to it, as well as like that little image preview of it.
Okay, and then would that factor in? I'm guessing if they favorited it, that means they viewed it. So I'm guessing it would send the one they favorited as well, right?
Exactly. That's exactly right. With like the saving versus the viewing, they will have viewed it if they've saved it. Exactly.
Okay. All right.
And I would agree with you, Dexter, on the language. I'd probably tame that language down a little bit, or just make it a task to the agent to follow up. But I totally agree. I think it's a little creepy to be like, hey, you're just on our site. What do you need? But by the same token, you could also make it an action plan where an email went out the following day to them, so that there was something just, it was like, hey, I'm just checking in. And then you kind of get that like, oh, I was just thinking about you guys type of feel, instead of like,
Got it.
You did something. Can I sell you something? Nobody wants that.
And the great thing about any of these like preloaded action plans automations is they're totally editable. So you can edit the automation, you can edit the whole action plan. If you have an action plan you already like, you can just swap it out for the one that you want to use. So yeah, go at it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
Definitely
then
customize them.
what's actually
Cool,
working,
Dexter. Thanks for coming. Oh, go ahead.
yeah, what's actually working for me, I created like a post-closed buyer automation and a post, and I had to kind of switch it up. I put post-closed buyer, post-closed landlord, and post-closed renter, and I created an action plan for all of those. And then so whenever I changed, I guess, but my thing is I have a couple of agents under me. So I had to, I guess, create different action plans with their names and then match it to their pretty much automation under their name. and then just kind of create all that. So it's a little bit more time consuming, but I think that's the only way that we can do that way.
You could do merge codes for that though. You could say agent name.
So I
Although
can-
I'm with you. Sometimes it's just easier to have one for each of them if you need, or if it's a unique link or whatnot.
Yeah, because it's the initial review link after they put it there.
Right.
It's per agent, you know. So
Right. So it's separate. You could do that with, there's a global merge code field now. Like each agent can have their own merge code. But I mean, I'm not looking to make it more complicated than what you have. So
got it. Okay, but those are working amazing for me. You know, after you close, it's just kind of is there, and it just kind of the renters especially 3, 6, 9 months. You check in at 9 months to make sure you're going to renew or buy, and you know everything's doing it for you. But that's my best one so far.
that's killer. That's awesome, man. Thanks for coming on. Really appreciate that.
All right.
All right, man. We'll see you soon.
Good.
I want to tackle back. There's a question I saw Ivan asked, and just because he's from my town of Atlanta, wanted to circle back on that. He said something about leads that come in, and then obviously kind of the going into space thing. And so to me, there's two things to that. Number one, I love to have an initial action plan where that if nothing happens, there's potentially a stage change at the end. So maybe they get moved to an unresponsive or a nurture automatically if they fall through the cracks at some point. But certainly using that automation, if there's activity to trigger maybe just another slow action plan. Maybe it isn't that you have to call them, but maybe it's, hey, now you're on a 1-year buyer drip if you came back and favored a property. So that'd be more where I'd be with something like that.
Yeah, and that ties in with one of the questions in the Q&A too about the difference in action plans coming in, how they can trigger through the lead flow versus automations. I want to tackle this one really quick. So if leads come through the lead flow, the action plans occur automatically. They can be assigned to, either simply or through advanced settings to be more complex. But you're right, if you import a lead list or manually add a lead list, then action plans don't fire automatically. I'll just go ahead and answer that there isn't a way to make an action plan happen for a full import. But if you are, if it's a smallish import, open house attendees or something along those lines, or a few leads coming from, a home show when, we can, or something along those lines, importing that list and then just pulling up the smart list and going through that smart list relatively quickly isn't a big lift. If you're importing hundreds of leads or more, then the philosophy is that why would you want to have it? It isn't necessarily the most efficient choice to start an action plan on all of those people right away. You want to manage them first, designate them, to have certain, in whatever capacity that you want them to be in, and then strategically activate action plans. But for manually adding one person at a time, after you add them, you can still perform the action that starts the automation. So if you're in a lead flow, let me go back over here. So if you're in a lead like Allie here, and you want to start an action plan, you can still start that action plan itself through the action plan. But if you also want to have the tag or have the stage change and do more than just have the action plan start, then all you have to do is perform that action. So if I perform this, let's see, what's that one? Re-engage. So if I wanted to re-engage with Allie here, I can add that tag manually, and the automation isn't on.
You can do the bad number one. I just turned that one on for you.
Okay, bad number. So here's bad phone number. If I save that tag, then the action plan will start automatically. And that way you have the tag in place. So you have the information about Allie, that the phone number isn't working, and the action plan starts.
I've got a similar use case for that might be relevant to people. If anybody uses like a categorization system, like an A+ or a top 25 or anything like that, this is a great use for that. I just helped somebody set up like an A+ Buffini style list where the action plan is just a reminder to the agent to do a pop-by or make a handwritten note or something like that. But what they do as part of their team is hey, every week or every month, I want you to go in and add 2 people to the A plus tag.
Mhm.
And then that's going to trigger them. So similar to what Jeremy said, then you don't have 800 tasks all triggering at the same time. You're getting a couple a week or a couple a month where it's much more manageable. And then one really good pro tip that we've just figured out while doing it, at the end of a year, we made a task to the agent that says, double check this categorization, because if they're not A plus anymore, if they're not referring you anybody, you might need to change it. And that's a good way to give you also an annual touch to say, is this person still my A plus? Be sure that you, in your automation, you set it to run more than once if you think they're gonna stay in A plus. That's at the end of it there. So
Gotcha.
As you kind of mentioned too, tasks, right, Lee, and having an action plan assigns tasks. Be careful though. Tasks can become overwhelming very, very quickly, right? And I see trouble a lot of times. I see overdue tasks like you would never believe in accounts. So be careful. I don't like to see in an action plan too much, right? Task, call lead, 2 weeks later, another task, call lead, right? We use our smart list for that. And we can, that's a whole different subject in terms of smart list, but think smart list for really lead nurturing your leads. Don't think automation to really remind our agents when to nurture our leads. Tasks are more for kind of the really action based, something that we have to take care of. So just be careful when we think tasks within our automations.
Yeah, let me
Overwhelming.
follow up on that with Lyndon. So every task that you either create manually or even if they're added through an action plan is extra time that you have to take during your day to look somewhere else to find what to do next.
Yep.
Your smart lists are the best way of staying in touch with someone on a regular basis, whatever that regular basis is if it's every 3 days or every 2 weeks or every 90 days. The smart list is better and more effective. And I know that there's tons of you guys out there who use the tab, if I, touch it, task it, sort of as a reminder, as like a mental switch that there's a follow-up item. But so many folks don't use the tasks they create out of that part of that system. And just use your smart list for that type of regular outreach. I could not agree more with that. There's another question from Chanel. I just wanted to also touch on this. So Chanel asks if there's a way to have an automation pause other action plans, so there's not like this, so they're not getting tons and tons of additional emails. Yes, in an action plan itself, there is a step to, pause all other action plans or pause specific action plans. So if you want to use an automation, open it up, check the, so for instance, if I wanted to have my nurture plan down here, just my nurture long-term buyers, if I wanted to have this action plan, well, this one's already set up for this. That's right, I forgot. So this one automatically pauses all other action plans. Boy, there's a lot to remember, isn't there? So pause all other action plans is actually the first step in this one. And you can make this the same first step in any action plan that you want to use. So any automation, can make this the first step. Does anyone else have any
Jeremy,
great
you want to
ideas?
tackle Kyle's question real quick about just smart lists in general? Like, what is a smart list?
Oh, yes. Okay.
Then we have a few questions in the chat too.
This is a really quick primer, Kyle. There's tons of other resources about this, but under the People tab in Follow Up Boss, all of these set anything that appears here in the white ribbon underneath the black menu bar is a smart list. And a smart list is basically a set of saved filters. So these filters are put in place so that the same things happen on a regular basis or the same data appears whenever you click into this list. This particular list, this is a really simple way of staying in touch with your new leads daily. The filters here are that you're looking for folks that are still in the lead stage, which is new, that there has been no communication in the last 12 hours. That's going to put people back in your crosshairs for outreach every business day. And then the last one is looking for the life cycle of the claim, that these folks are in that first stage, that first 10 days where it's critical to reach out every day. And so Follow Boss will put right in front of you who you need to reach out to. Literally names will appear here. And as you call them, text them, or email them, they will disappear. And if they don't get back in touch with you, they'll appear again tomorrow. And if you call, text, and email, they will disappear again. And then hopefully they will ultimately end up getting back in touch with you, and you'll see them in your inbox, and they will then disappear from your smart list because you're going to update the stage to be whatever information you're getting from them, whether it's a nurturer or someone who's ready to go or whatever. But the smart lists are a series of saved filters. They're going to help you stay in touch with your clients, help you stay organized, and help you stay efficient.
And I've also put in the chat and answered that question some good helpful links to SmartList 101. So it's all in the chat.
Awesome.
And let me take a moment to plug the Follow a Boss YouTube channel, where there are many, many videos on many, many things. And if you want extra credit, you can subscribe and turn on notifications so you'll see when they add a new video. Just saying. I'll drop a link to that in the chat. How about that? There's a few questions in the chat as well if you guys want to tackle those.
What do we?
If anybody wants to come on, you can
Who wants
raise your
to
hand.
scroll through those?
So Ashlyn has a question. She's saying, when it looks like when I add an automation with a tag, it's not starting the action plan. Is this because it is coming in tagged? So that's actually a good point. So back to the idea that automations are for your existing leads. So if they're coming in through your lead flow with a tag, that tag is not going to trigger an automation. But you can set advanced rules within your lead flow based off of a particular tag. So if you wanted to do something tag based at the new lead level, you could do that here within the lead flow advanced rules. So you could say, if the lead comes into Follow Up Boss with the tag qualified, then we want, this next action plan to run. So that's what I would do with tags at that lead flow level.
One other workaround, one other solution to that is that any action plan that you apply to your lead flow. So if the lead comes in from Wailopo with that, and you want even if the lead comes in with that tag, Caroline, maybe you can they put the same tag in the action plan can they apply the same tag in the initial action plan? Will that fire the automation?
I don't think so, actually. I think that tag would already exist, but I would just, there's a step in an action plan that removes tags. But I would probably just opt for adding a slightly different tag or something along those lines.
Yeah, that was just that was to clarify, because most of the time that's what we do, is that that's what I've done with other clients, is that I'll add that step to the initial action plan to have another tag add or have something happen that's going to make that other automation fire.
Great. And you can also raise your hand if you want to come on and chat with us. That is the thing. We'll bring you right on.
Knocking out these questions.
Yeah, Ashlyn responded to that. But yes, that's correct, Ashlyn. Adding a step. Technically it's called an advanced lead flow. But yes, that's correct. It's a step in the advanced lead flow. Or a rule.
Yeah, it's here, Ashlyn. So it's under advanced settings, and you can recognize the tag that comes in through with the lead, whether it's Wailopo, AdWords. That doesn't appear in this demo account, but let's pretend that it was qualified, and you can have this tag. That tag can separate that lead and have it go to a different agent, or even fire a different action plan than it would if it didn't have that tag. All right, let's see. Just want to make sure I don't miss anybody in the chat.
I think.
Oh, is there a flow chart somewhere for the action plans that were already created by Follow Boss? Anaya, that is definitely here in the automations page. On the automations page, you can click on any of the action plan titles and see what that action plan looks like and edit it from this screen as well.
And you'll notice that so under where it says edit action plan, it says by follow-up boss, and you'll see that on the action plans page as well.
Mhm.
So that's a good indicator that that was something that we added for you. So that would be missing on any of the action plans that you created yourself.
And coming up with a good naming systems. I just saw a question somewhere. Oh, the way to sort filter in the Q&A. There is not within the library itself, but that's for coming up with a naming structure that makes sense. Oh, the library?
I was wondering if Regina means our big action plan library or the one in her own account. The big action plan library is already broken out into what type of action plans that have been created. Now, most of these action plans in here were created by other clients and other Follow Boss users, and the person who it gets to choose what category it goes into. So yeah, you have to kind of open it up, and then you have to kind of start looking through. There's no way to filter it other than by scrolling and looking through and previewing the action plans that sound interesting. But in your own personal action plan library, in your own account, if you do have quite a few in here, the best way to organize it is by using the right naming convention, coming up with a naming convention, like Lee said. If their action plan's meant for a particular agent, put that agent's name in the action plan title. It's an alphabetical list too, so alphabetization follows the punctuation number letter system. So you can put an asterisk in front of a 2 and it's going to put it at the top of the list. But a number is going to go before a letter, and things like that to help kind of make it so it's easier for you to break down and segment.
So yeah, if they're buyer, you can say buyer, long-term nurture, buyer, 2-year plan or whatever. So that will group them together. It's not super sexy. I may or may not have bothered Caroline a lot recently about can we have folders? Just
another good point here is that these action plans and the automations, the names are going to be visible to everyone in your account. So they won't, the agents won't be able to edit any of them, but they will see the names and be able to preview them. So another, good point with the naming structure is making sure that they're easy to find and they are descriptive in terms of what they're doing or, what kind of information they're sending out. So, but yeah, +1 to the folders for sure.
Now we could, if we don't have, additional automation questions or not, this is maybe Lyndon's kind of the, I don't know. I don't want to say police, but we could always jump into Powerups super quick if people want to take a quick look at that, if that's not too off topic. Maybe
I think we've answered in terms of automations, and I've been able to kind of answer any kind of one-off questions as well in the Q&A. So I think
all right,
we can hop into Powerups. Yeah.
All right.
We can do that. Let's do it. Okay, so we rolled out. Let me see. Yeah, here they are. So we rolled out this new feature. It's under your account menu. So you click on your icon or your picture, your initials in the upper right corner, and you go to Powerups. Powerups is here where you can turn on features within Follow Up Boss that you may not have live active at this point in time. One thing that I wanted to know is that the call recording switch moved from the admin company page to the Powerups. So if you have used call recording in your account before, if you have calling enabled, you can record your calls. And for instance, if you switched it off and switched it back on recently and want to switch it back off and you go back looking for that switch, it's now here under Powerups. So these are features that you can turn on for your account. Call recording is available if calling is enabled on your account. So you can record calls. And that's a great tool for going back and reviewing your own call quality or having a way of keeping track of what was said in a conversation if you're not able to take notes. Call recording, is entirely up to you whether you want to use it or not. in certain areas, you might need to disclose that you're recording the call if you're using the call recording feature. Disable batch email. So that turns off batch emailing in Powerups. It says turning it on will disable batch email functionality. If it just said this will turn off batch emailing.
I mean, that is a double negative, but
it is a
technically
double
correct.
negative. Yeah. So if you switch this on, batch emailing just goes away. I can't think of a great use case for that because batch emailing can be really useful in small doses, but anybody who needs it can have it. Agent-owned lead duplication. This is really complicated to explain. So if you have questions about this, we'll shoot you a help document.
And also that's available for pro and platform accounts. So if you are thinking of lead duplication, work with your success manager on that because that can open a whole can of worms. So definitely work with your team on that one.
Definitely. And then pond notifications, you can turn these on so that when new information is received about a lead that's in a pond, you can have those notifications go to everyone who's assigned to that pond as opposed to just the pond agent. And then we have a few beta features, and these are always fun because these are still under construction. So contact relationships. Ooh, I'm going to turn it on. And we'll go back over that in just 1 second. Appointment reminders. This one is super cool. Appointment reminders, if you create your appointments through Powerups, you're getting an additional benefit from that functionality because now you'll have the ability to have a text reminder sent through Powerups to folks who you create appointments for in Powerups. And then lead source lockdown. This is a way of making sure that lead sources aren't editable by anybody on your team or in your account. And the other one here, enforce Google sign-in. So this adds another whole layer of security to your Powerups account. If everybody on the team, and this is important, if everybody on the team has the same email or has the same domain or G Suite account that you're emailing out of, that's the important step. If you turn this on, it'll enable whatever settings you have in Google to require you to sign in with Google. And that can include adding two-factor authentication to your Powerups account. So this can be a great way of keeping your account even more secure.
Does that have to be authorized at the admin level in Google though? Is there that additional step for people, or is it prompt through that?
You've got to be able to do the Google email verification.
But that's all it is.
That's
okay.
all that is. But the
Okay.
two-factor authentication would have to be managed through your Google account.
Right. But if it's on, it's on. If it's not, then they probably don't need it. I just didn't know if there's that like domain-wide authentication on the admin, like that extra step.
Yeah, it is.
All right. So relationships. Let's dare to do it.
let's dive in. So let's chat about, let me find somebody now. Oh, created less than a day ago. All right, so let's go back into AlleyCat and let me refresh my screen so that the power up appears. So the contact relationship, woohoo! This is big, and it is still in beta. And Caroline, I would say that this is probably it's just about 50% built, I would say, right? There's still lots of stuff on the back end of this functionality that hasn't been built out, but it is a great way of keeping you organized, of who you're going to reach out to pertaining to, help with this contact. To add a relationship. So this is AlleyCat. Heathcliff was AlleyCat. And you can choose what the relationship is to AlleyCat. These are suggestions. You can type in whatever it is that you think would apply. So if you prefer to use partner over spouse, just type it in and that's what will happen. But let's just say, for instance, that Heathcliff is Allie's brother, and we're going to save that relationship. So now Heathcliff's information appears separately from Allie's and can have separate phone number and email contacts available. All the same functionality works. If I want to send an email to Allie, I click the email address here, and then there can be a separate email address here that I could click in as well, and they'll pull that email in. For texting, you'll be able to not only text to Allie's phone number, but to Heathcliff. And if you are doing a group text through Follow Up Boss, texts that come back from Heathcliff will be labeled as Heathcliff, not Allie, and texts that come from Allie will still be labeled as Allie. So that's another huge improvement from our group texting feature before, where it could get confusing of who you were talking to. So this is, and you can also have as many relationships as you want. So if they had another, brother named Garfield, and just continue the whole, cat analogy forward, you can have as many relationships as you'd like. Excuse me.
Thought as we start talking about relationships, questions start coming.
Mm-hmm.
If you, I guess I kind of missed which one was I was going to ask there. If you do batch email and state select all emails, will it include the spouse emails?
Yes. That is the answer to that one.
Yeah.
It's a big, bold, underlined yes.
Yes. Let's see. Will there be the ability to have the relationship linked to another account and Follow Up Boss? Caroline, I think.
I think you mean like just like a totally separate profile. So those, I think the best thing to do there would still be to add that to the background or to a custom field if it was a totally separate profile. But I think this is a good opportunity to begin to like combine those things. Like if you are really going to target this person or these people as a unit, then I would add them as a relationship, and you can even merge the profiles together when you do that so that you're not, losing conversations from one profile. It can be merged into one.
Jeremy, can you demo that super quick? It's pretty straight ahead, but I think it's good to look at how to merge.
Right. So if Sally and Allie were related and you wanted to put them together, you can come up here on your people tab, select the people you want to merge, and go up to mass actions, and you have the merge people functionality. Let's say that we wanted to put both of them under Allie. I can go ahead and merge them, and they will both pop into Allie here. Now, because we added some additional information, for instance, so this is the email address that came through with Sally, that we can then break Sally out. And let's just say spouse for this one. And so Sally, and then we could add the email of product, and you can copy and paste this too. And save email. And did you see how it moved? Woohoo! I also really like that. It just jumped.
Magic.
Yeah, a little bit of magic. So Sally's email address populated down here to Sally. But now all the activity that's happened on both of those people is merged together.
I don't want to get too super advanced, but I do want to mention this because I've said for years that people should use the actual ampersand if they're making them in one record. And so like the and symbol for those who are younger than me, which is like everybody on here. But one cool thing about that is you can search in people by that ampersand. So if you're looking to start to work your people in one record and add a separate spouse email, you can actually, like if you click on name there, let's just show the easy way to do it. If you click on name there, it'll drop down contains, you can put the ampersand, and then it'll bring up all your records that have two people in them.
Right.
So that's a kind of a quick tip if you followed that protocol before to start to switch them to relationships.
Yeah, that would go with any special character. Some teams like a plus, some teams use a slash. Whatever punctuation you've put in there to designate there's a different, there's two people in the same contact, you can use the same filter to find those accounts and start breaking those folks out into the relationship types.
And for the new people, you're good to go. You have relationships types. And if anybody didn't catch how we either got here or how that happened, top right menu, drop down Powerups, and that is where you would have to turn this feature on. So if you're not seeing it in your account, you need to go make sure it's on first, then you can use
And
it.
I wanted to point out too, like right below where it says beta features, we have this little blurb with our product@followupboss.com email address. So these are in beta. So we are looking for feedback. There's been a lot of good questions that have come through. And as Jeremy mentioned, we're still building this. So if you do have suggestions or things you'd like to see, certainly email us. as we're working on this. That's definitely the feedback that we're looking for.
Yeah, totally. And email them directly, or I mean, if you have like, if you, or reach out to, if email the emailing them directly on this particular is going to get them the feedback a lot faster than going through support or your success manager. So if you do have questions or comments, go ahead and just let it rip.
Awesome. And Chanel is on. Just brought
Awesome.
you on. Talk to us.
Hi guys. Hi Lyndon. Lyndon is actually our Lyndon is actually our success manager. I'm doing good. I'm excited to join this because I'm the ISA for the team. So I'm kind of utilizing this, and just to let you know that relationships is actually an answered prayer for us. We've been requesting this, and really great feature. I do have a question though, or probably a suggestion, because I've utilized the appointment reminders for a few appointments that we did over the week, and I noticed that I wouldn't know if the text reminder was actually sent to the lead per se, because it doesn't show on Follow-Up Boss. So I think it would be awesome if we can have that feature added, or just so I can track if the agents did, click on the appointment reminder at the bottom of the appointment field, and making sure that, we're sending the right information or communication to the lead.
Yeah, that's great feedback. The appointment reminder, this is a good thing to note. So the appointment reminder is going to go to the phone number that is connected to the lead profile, and it will come from the company number. So we should see it tracked in the timeline as a text message that has gone out. So if we're not seeing it in the timeline, there could be an issue with that having gone out. So let us know about that. But a thing to note here is that it only goes to the lead. So if you have like an agent on there, if it was, a meeting between two agents, that text reminder is just meant for the lead. So I'm wondering if maybe that was the case for this particular one.
Yeah, probably so. I think it was directly sent from whoever created the appointment directly to the lead. But what I would wanted to see though, if because all text communications is reflected on Follow-Up Boss, and sometimes I was thinking, did they send the reminder? Because I'm actually monitoring the account, so I'm kind of babysitting the agents per se, just making sure that everything's sent out. And I would love to have that feature. And also, Carolyn, thank you so much for answering the question earlier. If we can create a template, we can personalize the template for the appointment reminders. I think that would be awesome if we can do that in the future.
I love that idea. I think that would be a great feature to add is personalizing that template. There are some other personalization options with the types and outcomes of appointments, but I think a personalized template would be a really great next step. So thanks for bringing that up.
Yep, sure, definitely. Thank you. Hi, Lyndon. I can see you moving. I can only see your picture. Thank you, guys.
Thanks for hopping on.
Thanks for coming on.
While we're on this page, I just also want to point out that if this is spurring you to consider creating more appointments through Follow-Up Boss, I also really want to point out the relationship type and outcome settings that we turned on back in December. This allows you to create different appointment types and be able to go back and note the outcome of your appointments. And we also released a report that helps you track how successful your appointments are being and the outcomes of those appointments. So if having the text reminder is making you think more, if you're not already creating appointments through Follow-Up Boss, use those appointment outcomes as well to stay really dialed in to how you're doing.
Yeah, those are super awesome. Let's tackle Donna's question and call it a day. She asked a quick question in relationships about using the @ symbol in one record versus using a relationship. Like what would be what are the kind of the pros and cons of that?
Well, I'll get started on that. I think that There are pros and cons. I think one of the pros that's easy. Well, right now, again, the relationships are still under construction, so we don't actually know if how the merge field situation is going to break out. So if you're using a template right now that pulls the first name of the contact into an email or a text, it's going to automatically address that to Allie and Sally. But we don't have merge fields for relationships yet. So at this point in time, if you want to use those templates and make it easy on you, so you don't have to type in, so you don't have to do any manual typing in an email or text, keep the ampersand for the time being and start and maybe break the information out. It's helpful to have the relationship broken out like this so that you can also designate who you're talking to in an email thread with multiple emails, or a text or a group text with multiple texts. Previously, it would only identify as the first name of the contact. So it would say Allie and Sally are texting you. At this point in time, if you break it out, if the pro here would be that if you keep Allie in the field up here and you keep Sally down here separate, you're going to know exactly who you're talking to in those text and email threads with multiple recipients. Go for it.
The only thing I was going to add to that, I think with any features, whether it's in beta or not or whatever, maybe try either like a current client you're working with or something, like try one or two before you go change all your people. Mm-hmm. Between the feature not being fully 100% of where it's going to be. And quite frankly, part of it being in beta is that there aren't a bunch of use cases to test it, which is why Caroline was saying, hit up product. If you do something or try something, or if you think an idea like, oh, it'd be great if it was set up this way, or if it could do that, they are open to hearing that. And that is a great way to give that feedback.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the perfect time to get that feedback in before this goes 100% live. Because once it's live, we don't change it. I'm just kidding.
Set in
stone. One shot.
That's right. That's it.
Sorry. We didn't record that webinar. I'm sorry. Oh, well, you guys are great. Thanks for being on. Ashlyn, I see your question. You should email product about that. Caroline would like to. Caroline, I'll make sure you and Ashlyn get linked up on that.
Okay, that sounds great.
Really appreciate you guys all being on. You're all now masters of automation, and we'll tackle another topic in a couple of weeks.